In this video, I'm gonna show you how to pack up your backpacking gear for plane travel. So many people have asked me about how to do this, and it isn't as simple as just putting all your stuff into a backpack and walking onto the plane. There's actually a lot of nuances in terms of stuff you have to check, things that you have to put in your carry-on. So I'm gonna give you all of those tips that I've learned over the years, and by the end of this, you will know exactly how to pack your bag for plane travel.
This is my show, gosh darn.
Before I get too deep into this video, this is Tucker. Tucker is my producer, Rainer's dog. He's also my co-host for this episode.
He's a good boy, too.
Aren't you so good?
He's a good boy.
Are you the best boy?
Oh,
Can I put you in my lap?
You only be in a movie.
So the main thing that I want you to take away from this video, if nothing else, is that my recommendation for you is to take your fully loaded backpack for backpacking and put it into another bag and check it. Oh, bye. You wanna leave now? Okay. Yes, Tucker has vacated the set now. I'm just all by myself. While there are some things that you have to carry on, for the most part, all of your backpacking gear is just going to be safer in checked baggage instead of trying to gamble that it might fit into an overhead bin as a carry-on. Check it real good. Dun, 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 dun. Great. So I know it might seem silly to take a bag like this and put it into another bag to check it, but our backpacking bags have all these like straps and buckles and things hanging off that just are like very likely to get damaged in travel. All planes are different. Overhead bin storage is often really limited. So because I don't think it's worth it to run the risk of like hoping that my bag fits in an overhead bin or like hoping that I don't have to check it at the gate, I always just check my backpacking gear and I always put it into a pack duffel, which is something that is designed specifically for this purpose. This is my pack duffel.
A Mary Poppins bag.
It is like a Mary Poppins bag. It gets huge. Cool, so pack duffel, boom. As you can see, this thing is top loading. So you can like fit all your stuff down in it like that. It is massive, just like so much space in there. I wonder if I could fit in here. It has this little window on the side where you can put your name and phone number. I would highly recommend doing this on your backpacking gear, especially because like when you get to your destination, if they lose your pack, you can't go backpacking. And then just has this big strap on the side. So super simple duffel, but really, really large. The other cool thing about this is that I can actually pack 2 people's worth of backpacking gear into one pack duffel. So once you get to your destination, you definitely don't want to have to carry your pack duffel. It's not like meant to be carried on a backpacking trip and it'll just take up space in your bag. So I'll tend to just leave it in a rental car. If you're not using a rental car, you can generally find like lockers at truck rest areas or even public pools. But if you're super opposed to using a pack duffel and you like just want to carry your backpacking gear, I can give you one tip on how to make your backpack less likely to get damaged in transit. Let me show you. Boom. Let's pretend that this is my fully loaded pack. There's a couple things you can do to make it less likely for this pack to get damaged. The first thing to do is to tighten down all of your straps and to tuck them into pockets if you can. So this means tightening all your compression straps, everything on this external side of your pack. So I'm just like tightening and tucking.
Tightening and tucking. This is the Tighten Tucking song. Here we go. Do-do-do-do.
I've tightened down the straps as much as I can on the exterior of this pack. On the front here, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So this flash pack is pretty flexible. Depending on how flexible your bag is or how not flexible your bag is, this next part might not work, but just bear with me while I show you what we're gonna do. I just wanna make it clear that this is not what I recommend doing with your pack. This is just an option if you have to. So I'm loosening my shoulder straps. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. And I'm gonna flip them around to the front of the bag, like this, and buckle it. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all of the straps and things on this front side of my pack because I'm gonna use my rain cover to cover this. And then we're gonna do the same thing with my hip belt. I do not recommend doing this if you have a pack that does not have a flexible hip belt because you will mess it up. Great. If you have like an Osprey Atmos or like an Aura or something, this is just like, it will not work. Cool. So now I have my backpack with all my stuff in it. I've buckled my harness and my hip belt around the front side of my pack. So ideally the back side of my pack doesn't have any like straps or things that can be damaged. And now I'm gonna take my rain cover and use this as kind of a makeshift pack duffel. And so we're just gonna tighten that to try and basically protect the front side of the bag as much as possible. Boom, right like that. We have our backpack is in here, our rain cover is tightened around the exterior side that has all of our straps and things. And if something's gonna get damaged, I would so much rather have it be like my rain cover, which is pretty easy to replace, than have it be like the straps on my backpack. Hot tip, you can also put your entire bag into, I think these things that are called stroller covers at airports, which are just the covers that people put over strollers, obviously. Generally, they're gonna have those for free at the airport. So using some of those to cover your bag, clear plastic just gives it one additional layer of protection. But again, what we're trying to do here is essentially just like avoid straps and things on your pack getting damaged so that it doesn't ruin your trip. Most airports are gonna have king film. Most airports are going to have cling film, that clear plastic, like cellophane stuff they use to cover avocados, and that can be used.
Cover avocados?
Yeah. What? So like on the Osprey Atmos, for example, Osprey has this anti-gravity like hip belt thing, and it lies really flat against the pack. There's no way that I'm gonna be able to bend this around the front side of the bag. So in this case, you can just wrap around your entire pack. Really, the main thing we're trying to do is we're trying to keep all of these straps and doodads and bits and bobs from being loose in the cargo area because they are just such a risk of getting caught on something and getting damaged. I have been burned by TSA before. I've had things taken away from me as carry-ons. I have had packs and buckles damaged in transit because I didn't put my bag into a pack duffel. So I am also speaking from the experience of like not wanting to risk it after having stuff get ruined for me. So that's why I recommend pack duffels. Don't do what Rainer did. This is a bad idea. Put this bag in another bag. So now that we've covered this big idea of taking all of your backpacking gear, putting it into a bag and checking it, you can't actually check lithium batteries. So if you are carrying a spare lithium battery, like this Goal Zero Venture, these actually cannot go in your checked baggage. So you have to carry these on. On the topic of stuff that you cannot carry on a plane is fuel. Like this. These things cannot be carried on or checked on a plane. Make sure that you're taking your fuel out, check your pot. If you're someone who just like comes back from a backpacking trip and takes your whole cook kit and puts it back on your shelf, make sure to like double check, open everything up, make sure you're not taking fuel with you because this cannot be checked and it cannot be carried on and it can get you banned from flights. Flammable. Don't put it on a plane. Great. In the same respect, you also cannot fly with bear spray. So if you're headed to an area where you're gonna need bear spray, or if you're like going into bear country, make sure that you can either get someone you get there, or rent bear spray. I think you can rent it. I'm pretty sure that areas where bears hang out, parks will rent bear spray. Speaking of bears, this is an excellent segue to talk about food. Y'all have probably heard me talk about my bear canister before. I love my bear canister, even though it's big and bulky and kind of heavy. It is one of my favorite pieces of gear, and it actually works really well for traveling, for backpacking. So if you have ever like put a backpacking meal in the bottom of a bag and then forgotten about it and it's gotten all crushed up and then you've like opened it up and tried to rehydrate it and it's all like mashed to bits and powder and then you rehydrate it and it just tastes really gross because it doesn't have any texture anymore and it's more like porridge and anything else you wanted to eat, it's really bad. So that doesn't happen to you, I would recommend instead putting it all into your bear can.
That is the longest sentence that has ever been said in the history of sentences.
Sorry, Mom. My mom, the English teacher. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is that backpacking meals, like they're already kind of touch and go on whether or not dehydrated meals are any good. And if they just turn into powder and you rehydrate powder, they're definitely not going to be tasty. Your bear canister is a great place to store your food. Boom. Plus, if this can withstand bears, it can withstand the TSA.
But not bears that work for the TSA.
Yeah, not bears that work for the TSA.
They're
man, they're hard asses. If you don't have a bear canister, you can use your sleeping bag to like wrap up the dehydrated meals in your sleeping bag. Save the meals. Great. A few more tips for you. If you are traveling with your headlamp or any other small electronics that have removable batteries, I'd recommend taking those batteries out before you put this stuff in your pack. You don't want this to accidentally turn on in your bag and just totally drain all of your batteries. If you have a headlamp like mine, like this black diamond, you can actually lock this light so that it won't turn on in your bag. It'll save your batteries. Last but not least, trekking poles. Trekking poles actually cannot be carried on the plane. They have to be checked. Now this might come as a surprise, especially if you've seen those like foldable trekking poles, but even those are not considered safe for air travel. Like I don't want someone coming in the comments and being like,
Well, my Black Diamond Z poles, like I put them in my carry-on bag every time.
that's great, Susan, but someone might find them and they might get taken away from you.
Yes, Susan.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, Susan, always coming up in the comments talking about her trekking poles.
Most like collapsible trekking poles like these, like the telescoping poles, won't even fit in carry-on luggage. But even the folding style trekking poles are not supposed to be put into a carry-on. So make sure you're always checking your trekking poles. If they're trekking, make sure you're checking.
No.
I often like to bring a small day pack. And then I'll just use this bag as my carry-on on the plane. I'll put my spare lithium batteries in here and then just stick this in the car under the seat for my backpacking trip. Another hot tip, that once your backpacking gear is inside something else, it is considered the contents of a bag. And an airline is required to compensate you for any damage to the contents of a bag, but they're not required to compensate you for damage to the bag. Put your backpacking gear into something else so that it becomes contents instead of bag. Okay, so those are all of my tips for how to travel with your backpacking gear on the plane. Every airline is different. Every security line is gonna be different. I traveled with a plastic serrated spork for a really long time, and I just had it taken away from me. So it really just depends on like who you're encountering. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you have other tips for how to like pack your backpacking gear for plane travel, let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to the Miranda in the Wild channel, and then also subscribe to the REI channel, and I will see you all in the wild. Bye! See you in the friendly skies!
Well, you can't be there.
Some co-star you are, you're just
All right, I'm
upstaging
just
me.
gonna